It is good as always to be in the house of the Lord, to be with God's people, to be able to look into His Word, to see things that God has for us, the things that He's done for others, the things that He does for us and will do for us. And as we go through this and these accounts, it's hard to say stories, but they're not just stories, they're accounts of how God handled things. As I read this morning and thought of the things we've looked at and things that we will come to, and we all know it, but sometimes God kind of reminds me of it in a way to get me in the position I need to be in, I think. But God did not help man because of man. God helped man in spite of man. And we find that all through the scriptures that these, Jacob, as we've been looking at him, he was a deceiver and everything. And as we get on through here, we'll find out his boys is an honorary bunch. They're the fathers of the nation of Israel, but they was an honorary bunch. They did all kinds of stuff. And but we find in the end that God works things out, that He has to humble man. And we will find as we look at these boys here, these 12 and 13 ones, that they did things however they thought they needed to do it. And they would be praised, and not only talk about the world, because, even in my thinking, a lot of times I like to think, well, oh boy, don't let nobody run over him. But God has a way of humbling people. And in the end, we find that there was a great drought, and they was hopeless. And we have, I'm kind of getting ahead, but I'm giving previews, I guess you say. We find that their evil deeds that they did to their younger brother Joseph and sold him and all the stuff that he went through, God delivered them by one obedient servant in the middle of an evil nation. And you think, well, it looked like He would have worked with His people that He chose. Then, as is now, God's people have a tendency not to listen to God and not to follow in the ways of God, and we will find this as we go on through. But we'll read this 31st chapter, it's a rather lengthy chapter, and come back and discuss a few things. If anybody has anything to say, just speak up at any time. Genesis 31, verse 1. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob had taken away all that was our father's, and of all that which was our father's hath he gotten all this glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And the Lord said unto Jacob, Return into the land of thy fathers, and into thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field and to his flocks, and said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not toward me as before, but the God of my father has been with me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father. And your father hath deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times, but God suffered him not to hurt me. If he said thus, the speckle shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear a speckle. And if he said thus, the ringstock shall be thine hire, then bear all the cattle ringstake. Thus God had taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up mine eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which sleep upon the cattle were ringstock, speckled, and gristled. And the angel of the Lord spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Lift up now thine eyes and see, all the rams which leap upon the cattle are range-streaked, speckled, and bristled. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillow, and where thou vowest a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return into the land of thy kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, Is there yet any portion of inheritance for us, our fathers, in our father's house? Are we not counted of him strangers? For he hath sold us, and hath quite devoured all our money. For all the riches which God hath taken from our father, that is ours and our children. Now then, whatsoever God has said unto thee, do. Then Jacob rose up and sent his sons and wives upon camels, and he carried away all the cattle and all the goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting which he had gotten in Paduram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the image that were his father's. And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, in that he told him not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river and set his face toward Mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled. And he took his brethren with him and pursued after them 7 days' journey, and they overtook him in Mount Gilead. And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mount of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, What hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives, taken with the sword? Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and didst not tell me, that I might have sent thee away with mirth, and with song, with tablet, and with harp? And hast not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters? Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing. And it is in the power of my hand to do you hurt. But the God of your father spake unto me yesterday, saying, Take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. And now, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Peradventure thou wouldest take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live. Before our brethren discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tents, but he found them not. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images and put them in the camel's furniture and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but found none of the images. And Jacob was wroth, and code with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin, that thou hast so hotly pursued after me? Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, what hast thou found of all thy household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge betwixt us both. This 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their youth, and the rams and thy flocks have I not eaten. That thou was torn of beast, I brought not to thee. I bear the loss of it. Of my hand didst thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day, the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sheep departed from mine eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times. Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely thou hast seen me away now empty. God hath seen mine afflictions and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. And Laban answered and said unto Jacob, these daughters are my daughters, these children are my children, these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. What can I do this day unto thee, my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore come thou, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillow, and Jacob said unto his brethren, gather stones, and they took stones and made a heap, and they did eat there upon the heap. And Laban called it Jegar, whatever, but Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, this heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Gilead. And Mizpah, for he said, the Lord watch between me and thee when we are absent one from another. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take other wives beside my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness twixt me and thee. And Laban said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold this pillow which I have cast between me and thee. This heap be witness, and this pillow be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillow unto me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor and the God of their father judge twixt us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount, and called his brethren to eat bread, and they did eat bread and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them, and Laban departed, returning unto his place. As I said, this is quite a lengthy reading, and I'm not a good reader either, but as I was studying this, and as I said before I started reading, that as I study on these things, it's how that God blesses man in spite of man. And you can judge Laban, you can judge Jacob, you can judge any of these characters that we read about, and you can judge them if you want to. But they are written, as Paul said in 1 Corinthians, for our ensamples, our lessons, that we do not do the same things. They're not written here for you to judge them of how bad of a person they was. They're not written here for you to judge them because they didn't do what God said. You're not here to judge them because they served other gods. They are written for ensamples, or lessons, for us. And if you do not take it there, you might as well go read Moby Dick, because it's not going to do you no more good than that. Because these things is not just stories, but they are written for our admonition and for our learning, that we might not do the same thing. They lived in a lot rougher time. If you look at the lives that they lived, and even the rich people at that time lived a lot harder life than what any of us do, that we complain about anything that happens that disconveniences us, we complain and just, go off the deep end sometimes. And I'm not watching you all do that. I'm thinking, I've told this story before because it keeps happening over and over again. The little things, such things that's so little. See my Sunday school lesson that's written out this morning? Well, my seat my friend according to again. And if you could see me in my front room stomping around and kicking and throwing stuff this morning trying to find another cord, it wouldn't have been a very good witness. But I trust that I did get a lesson out of it when I finally realized how foolish and how stupid that I looked to my own self. Much less, there wasn't nobody else there, And we say that, well, it don't hurt nobody, nobody's seen it. Well, God has a way when there ain't nobody around, and at least when I do stuff like that in the end makes me feel about a half-inch tall, And it's not big things, it's just little things, like I said that. Now that was not life-threatening, it was not anything. All I had to do was sit down, and I had all the things the scriptures that I had printed out was on the screen there. I just had to get me a piece of paper and pen and write it down, so that, that was not no big deal, but I made it a big deal. And we find here that Jacob, God reminded him of the promise that he had made him where he stacked the stones, where the pillow, where the Jacob's ladder that we looked at not long ago, that God promised him that if he would follow him, that he would bring him back to the land of his fathers, and that he would bless him and be with him. And he did. He blessed him here with Laban and with the cattle and things. And it just amazes me that how God blesses. If you will go through and look at the order of things in stock in the Bible, Jacob ended up with the range streak and the gristle and the spotted. What was that? They weren't good for sale. They wasn't good for sacrifice. Anything that wasn't pure, anything that wasn't, they offered a lamb, it had to be without spot or without blemish. In other words, it had to be healthy and it had to be solid, colored, and good. But he blessed Jacob with these things, and he's seen it to Jacob's good. And we see that as we've been looking at Jacob, and even his name Jacob is a deceiver, and he got to where he was by deceiving people. And we find here that Laban, they were two of a kind. Laban, he did, Jacob, we find here that Jacob worked for 14 years for the two daughters, and he worked for 7 or 6 more years for the cattle and everything. And for 14 years, he didn't even receive wages. He just worked for his daughter. He had, you might say, room and board. He got Laban's daughters, and he was there for room and board. Had nothing. And then when he was going to leave, and Laban made a deal, he just named the wages, and he did the cattle they set it up, and they made a covenant, and they agreed to that. And we find that did not work for Laban. But we find that Laban's countenance was changed towards Jacob. Well, would that be unusual? If you had a guy there that was a hard worker, as Jacob was talking, he was out there in the frost, he was out there in the heat, he was out there in the drought, he was out there when people stole the cattle, and he got them back, and he was a very good laborer and a very good worker for Laban for nothing. And then they made this deal on the cattle and everything that Laban had would go to whatever that they said went to Jacob. That's how that they came out. So Laban he went from getting everything to not getting anything. So you think any man's countenance wouldn't change against him? It wasn't just that he was leaving here, but it was the way that things was happening here, and the way that things were. And he kept, you can see also that the word of God is sure. What God promised Jacob, he fulfilled. And he went with him. We'll find that he was with him when he went back. We find Jacob was doubtful. Jacob was faithless to meet his brother Esau. He thought that was going to be the end of it. God took care of him that. He took care of him here as he left Laban. That God will, if you go forward with him, he will not only take care of you, he will assure our faithlessness. God is faithful. And he will not change as Laban did. He will not do something different to win our faithfulness, but God is true. God is faithful. He never changes, and he does exactly what he says. Unlike man, as Jacob, he became doubtful many times, and made a deal with Laban, and he said that tell Laban that you've changed my wages these 10 times. Well, I kind of run some scriptures too on that, and I don't know, I don't do a lot of, I'm not learned on numbers and everything, but as I look through that, 10 is an uncertain number. In other words, he may have changed them 10 times, or he may have changed them a whole bunch of times. That's what I mean. When the word 10 is, when the number 10 is used, it means that it's not a consistent, it could be anything, you know. You just change whatever. And that's what he did. Every time that it would start going Jacob's way, he would change it. Whether it was 10 times, whether it was 20 times, whether it was 100 times, I don't know. But or you can take it that 10 means 10. And I have no problem with that, I always have. But as I looked through that and read scriptures in other places, that this is what 10 represents. But it is an unsurety, any covenant that you make with man, if God is not in it, if we do not follow in the ways of God, that we be as the thing back as we looked at of the promise that God made to Abraham and his seed. Back to Genesis 15. He was dealing with Abraham and Abraham's seed when Abraham didn't have any seed. And Abraham was talking to God, now how's this going to work, saying I don't have any seed? How can you bless me through my seed when I don't have any seed? What is my reward? What is my blessing? And in 15:1 it says, after these things the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. What is our reward now, and what has always been God's reward to man? God. It's not real simple. We look at the city, we look at the blessings, we look at God taking care of us. The reward of serving God is God. And Jesus said in John 14 that if you love me, keep my commandments. And he said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And this is all that God has ever required of man. We can see all the laws and all the ordinances and all the things that was then and the things that we look at now that we get caught up, and you have to do this and you have to do that. You have to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, mind, and body, and your neighbor as yourself. That is all that God requires of us. And we can throw all the extra things things as the scribes and the Pharisees did, and there are things that we have to do. But the only thing that you have to do is love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, mind, and body, and your neighbor yourself. And when you love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and body, then you will fall into the thing that Paul was talking about. Yeah, I'm going to get back to my old scripture. Romans 12, verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, mind, and body. In other words, your whole being, present it to God as a living sacrifice. God, I'm sinful, I'm dirty, I'm no good, but take me and use me. That everything, whether I eat, drink, or whatsoever I do it to the Lord. When I work, do a good job, but not for man, do it as unto the Lord. That is so simple and so hard to learn. Because we want to do things ourselves. And that's what we're finding back over here with Jacob and Laban and Esau and all of them. When man wants to do things himself, I will guarantee you this one thing, it will mess up. Oh, I know a lot of ungodly men that are successful. Do you know the end of that ungodly man? They won't be successful. The reward is God.
This said over in Hebrews about Abraham, he said he looked for a city that had foundations. He could go there back there. I didn't tell us over here in Genesis about that, but that's what he was looking for. He said
Amen.
God was his shield and his exceeding great reward.
Amen. Anything else anyone has? If not, I read an exceedingly long chapter, and I'm done.